Mina Kimes, Jen Latta, Martenzie Johnson, Kevin Clark. Snap out of it. Aaron Jones snapped us out of it. Can Shohei Ohtani snap out of it? Mets-Dodgers Game 3 in a few hours. And Lynx-Liberty, their Game 3 tonight, too. Can Minnesota snap out of it and put together a full game? Let's go around the horn. All right, so nobody watched Moonstruck every Sunday growing up in their house?
No.
40-year-old movie.
So on brand.
I am who I am. I can give you Mr. Beast, and I can give you Cher and Moonstruck. What do you want from me?
Quite the range.
Here it is, Aaron Judge homering in these playoffs. Gleyber Torres was on base for it, tagged up at third. Judge after the game. That was disrespect out of Gleyber, man. He's seen me hit 58 of those things this year. I love it. Yankees fans breathe a sigh. Had been getting wins, but not hits with men on base or anything from Judge. Guardians so sloppy and wild this series, uncharacteristically so, unable to get big hits of their own and find themselves down 0-2. Looking for a big hit takeaway from this 6-2, Game 2, around the horn of Kevin Clark.
The takeaway is that you should be very, very scared because Aaron Judge was waiting around to be a factor in these playoffs, and now he's arrived. 2 hits in his last 15 at-bats before Tuesday. All of a sudden, he mashes one 414 feet after 9 games homerless. The reason that this team is scary is because they're doing everything else right. We know what Soto can bring. They have the second best bullpen performance ever through 6 games of the postseason. This can be a really special team. There's a lot of momentum in this city. I'm here. I'm walking around. I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I'm getting wrapped up in what's going on here right now. This has the I don't know. I'm just being honest. No, this has the capability to be a special team with Judge, and this is what we're seeing now.
But do you
Final
believe,
form.
Casey, one swing can change everything in a slump for Aaron Judge?
Yeah, absolutely. For a player like Judge, absolutely. Like we've seen him go on runs, get home runs in bunches. Yes, absolutely.
Martenzie Johnson, your takeaway from Game 2.
My takeaway is that the Guardians are really, really in trouble. For a game where Garrett Cole allowed 6 hits and walked 4, which is the second most he's ever done in the postseason in his career. You mentioned Soto. He went 1 for 3. Judge came into this game batting 133. Stanton went 0 for 4. Jazz Chisholm went 1 for 4. Jazz Chisholm had that error coming from third base. Jazz Chisholm got picked off when he was trying to steal second. On and on and on. You still gave up 6 runs, and you still only scored 3 yourself. I don't know what else the Guardians can do. It was a lot of errors in that game, obviously, but it just seems like the Yankees are on the path towards the World Series, and there's not much.
Well, what they can do is go home for Game 3 tomorrow. Before we get there, Jen Latta, around the horn to you. Takeaway from last night.
Yeah, what a good day to be in the Bronx. The Yankees lineup hit .333 for the day, 11 of 33. To put that in context, guys, the best teams in Major League Baseball during the regular season hit .263. They are taking advantage of Cleveland's pitching issues. They have not been able to go deep into games. I think Tyler Bybee was chased in the 2nd inning, and the longest that one of their starters have gone in the postseason is 4 2/3. The guys have mentioned how demoralizing it is to not only have Garrett Cole, their starter, not have his best stuff with the 4 walks, which is uncharacteristic. But Anthony Rizzo, who's dealing with fractured fingers, go 2 for 4. And oh, by the way, Judge find his home run streak. Meanwhile, Cleveland has the worst OPS and the worst batting average of any of the 4 teams left in the postseason. This feels inevitable that the Yankees will move on.
Mina Kimes, takeaway from Game 2.
Boy, I wish I could provide some optimism for the Guardians, but I'm going to join everyone else here in saying this one feels over. And it typically is over, by the way, right? When a team goes 2-0 in a best-of-7 series, they go on to win 74% of the time. The time to beat the Yankees was before Aaron Judge, the sleeping giant, woke up. Somehow they won 4 or 5 games despite his lack of production, and I think it's far more likely that moving forward we will see the guy who hit 58 home runs during the regular season, 5 of which, by the way, came against the Guardians in 6 games. I'm very concerned about the Guardians' rotation. Jen talked about the fact that they haven't gone deep. Matt Boyd, who's pitching next, hasn't gone over 5 innings in over a month. This feels really challenging.
Whatever happened to a series doesn't start till a home team loses here, people? I hear what you're saying. Bullpen has been a strength for Cleveland all year long, but it's hard when everybody has to pitch 1 inning every game. Kevin Clark, back to you.
From the Life Isn't Fair department, these playoffs are the 3 highest payrolls in baseball plus the Guardians. The problem with playing a high payroll team like the Yankees is eventually someone like Aaron Judge is going to come on. They have the depth to tread water without him. That's the problem they're facing right now.
We've been horned. We'll move on. One borough over. Citi Field, hold on to the roof tonight. Mets already vibing out of the stratosphere. And look at this. First pitch tonight, Doc Gooden and Darryl Strawberry. Love seeing that. On the other side, Shohei Ohtani. 7 games this postseason, 6 hits, a 677 OPS. He has not been hitting at all as a table setter. Doesn't have a hit with no men on base. He's been hitting with people on base, but when people aren't on base, he doesn't get a hit. Dave Roberts was asked, does he consider moving him out of the leadoff spot? Roberts said no. It's comical to think that he would move him. Jen, start there. Is there something the Dodgers or Dave Roberts could do to kind of get Ohtani going here?
Here's a suggestion. Get your 7, 8, and 9 hitters to get on base. And then when Ohtani comes around, then he's got guys on base. Actually, during the regular season, guys, he was slightly better with no one on, 311 to 308. But we are talking about 38 at-bats. It is way too small of a sample size to mess with Ohtani, considering he has more than 3,000 at-bats in his Major League Baseball career, and he has been the epitome of consistency for the duration of that time. It feels like a panic move. It feels like prisoner of the moment or a slave to the numbers to make changes just based on 38 at-bats, Tony.
And Roberts is not making changes. Mina, would you to kind of try to get Ohtani going?
No, this is always the challenge, right, in the postseason. Are you weighing what's happened recently, or are you looking, as Jen said, over the larger sample size over the season when Ohtani was perfectly fine leading off? In fact, better, as you said, with no players on base. I think for Roberts, part of the reason, though, he's sticking with Ohtani at leadoff is not just because of how he was during the regular season, but I suspect it's because of Ohtani himself. This is where he is comfortable. The vast majority of his at-bats during the regular season came at leadoff, otherwise just at second. To make a change now, it feels like it would not only be reacting to what's happened in the postseason, but also putting your best hitter in a position that he hasn't hit at all over the course of the entire
Kevin
season.
Clark, to you on Ohtani and trying to get him to wake up.
Yeah, there's so much debate over clutch and whether mentality even exists and whether guys approach at-bats differently when guys are on base or not. And listen, I've read Bill James for 30 years. I understand all the arguments, but I don't want to find out. Like, I'm not going to sit here and wait and see if Ohtani somehow magically starts hitting with guys not on base. He is 0 for his last 19 when the bases are empty since September 19th. He's hitting, and I had to fact check this about 50 times, 842. With runners in scoring position. That is astounding. I'm Mr. Small Sample Size. I am Mr. Panic Move in the postseason. Bring on the panic moves and
So
get
wait,
Ohtani
okay.
down the
I'm
lineup.
still trying to react to the stat. The 842 with men on base, he's runners in scoring position, I should say, is where. So you would try to move him in the order to maximize
Yes.
that? Wow.
Yes, clearly he's approaching it differently right now. I understand there was an entire 162-game season where that wasn't the case, but it's the case right now. That's the reality we're dealing with right now. Figure it out.
All right, Martenzi Johnson, where are you on this?
Let me preface this by saying I understand if it's for a fifth, we'd all be drunk. But, like, let's say we take this and put Ohtani second for this last game behind Mookie Betts. It wouldn't have mattered if someone was on base because Mookie Betts didn't hit anything either. So moving him around, I'm not sure if that's the actual that's going to benefit the Dodgers in any way. If anything, it's everyone else, Ohtani included, that is a problem for the Dodgers. The pitching, you can't give off a leadoff home run. You can't give up a grand slam in the second. You can't, for the top of the lineup, go 0 for 19. You just can't do that. And to blame it all on Ohtani, that's just giving everyone else free rein.
All right, talk me through tonight. Game 3, the pivotal Game 3 in New York. Mina Kimes, you know, it's going to be jam-packed. It's going to be a zoo.
Yeah.
The emotions of that, and the number one thing that decides tonight, Mina.
I've got the Mets, not just because they're wearing all their black jerseys, which I love, but the pitching for me. Call me Miss Large Sample Size. Walker Buehler struggled throughout the regular season on the road as well as in the postseason. I see him struggling again.
I love that you love the black that they're wearing. Jen, you may like a little bit more color in your wardrobe, which I appreciate as well on others, not myself. So what do you see as the number one deciding factor tonight?
Yeah, I think it's the Dodgers. I think they just have the better team. And the Mets have been kind of like surprising people all postseason long, but I think it catches up with them in this series.
Martenzi Johnson?
Yeah, I'm going to say that the Dodgers aren't going to take this. As Mina says, Walker Buehler, in his last outing in an NLDS versus the Padres, gave up 6 runs.
Kevin Clark?
It's not looking good.
I drove past Shea Stadium on the Citi Field, on the way here, and there was already a lot of traffic, but that just may have been LaGuardia traffic. But no, I think everybody's excited right now. I'm going with the Mets here. The only thing I think that this game rides on is whether or not Ohtani has one of those monster games like we saw in August and September, where he says, I'm going to do something we've never seen before. Barring that, Mets win.
Taking a break right here. We'll get the rest of Kevin Clark's GPS trails in by herself. Lakes Liberty Game 3, Minnesota at home, where they've gone 20-5 this year in this series where they've trailed for 82 of the 85 minutes, but still have it at 1-1. Their ability to come back from huge deficits has been stunning, but can they play a complete game without Cheryl Reeve having to toss a jacket? Or maybe with her having to toss a jacket. I love when she does that. For New York, Brianna Stewart's bounce back from the dreadful Game 1 was huge in getting that Game 2 win. Tonight, Mino, what do you buy as the #1 deciding factor?
Yeah, I'm locked in on Stewart, particularly the Brianna Stewart-Napheesa Collier matchup. Little Husky on Husky crime, or former Husky on Husky crime there. Collier got the best of her in Game 1. As you said, she was fantastic, Brianna Stewart, in Game 2, not only putting up 14 points when defended by her, but 7 steals, which is wild in a record, and she was incredible. It was an all-around amazing performance from obviously one of the best players in the league. If she can repeat that, it's hard for me to see Minnesota pulling it out.
Jen Latta, #1 thing.
Well, you know, it's been an incredible series when players in the series, Napheesa, is watching it back, the broadcast. But I am banking on home court advantage, giving the Lynx the lead in this one. Because as you mentioned, they're fantastic at home. They also are, for whatever it's worth, opening up the upper deck there so that they can get 19,000 people in there.
I saw that.
More raucous place. The biggest difference between Game 1 and Game 2 for this team, the turnovers and their three-point shooting. 20 turnovers in Game 2 to 10 in Game 1, and their three-point shooting, they were much more efficient when they won the game. So those are things they have to clean up if they want to go up on this one at home.
Sounds like you've got Minnesota. Martenzie Johnson, #1 thing that decides tonight.
It's and I know we're talking about the Lynx here, but it's the role players for the Lynx, right? In this last game, Bridget Carlton, Caleb McBride did not give much on the offensive end, and the bench gave them all a grand total of 5 points. So they need more help from Napheesa Collier, who herself needs more touches. She only had 12 shots in Game 2.
All right, we were talking about the Olympics. We don't have to. We can talk about the Liberty. Kevin, you've driven past the Barclays Center as well, once or twice before. What did Waze tell you? And now, what do you got tonight?
As a former resident of a couple blocks away from the Barclays Center, I'll say this. It's 3 things. It's the big 3 for the Liberty and how they perform. Mina already mentioned Brianna Stewart, the record-setting 7 steals. Sabrina Ionescu, 26% in half-court sets right now she's shooting. That's really bad. Shooting 100% in transition. That's all you kind of need to know. She only had 1 point in the second half in Game 2. I think she plays better. I think the Liberty's...
That's been a flip of the script for Ionescu after the number she had, especially getting to the rim in the previous series against Vegas. So Liberty, 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 and Minnesota is what I heard from Jen Latta. She's the one picking the Lynx. We'll move on. News of the day from the NCAA, closing the 12-man on the field under 2-minute loophole exploited by Dan Lanning in Oregon this weekend in their win over Ohio State. Going forward, the team hurt by the penalty will have the option to have the elapsed time restored, along with taking the penalty yards. So here we go. This was an unusually quick judgment from the NCAA. How should Ohio State feel about that, by the way? How do you think it came to be with Dan Lanning copping to it just yesterday? What are you buying? What are you selling, Jen Latta?
Yeah, I didn't know that the NCAA could move this quickly, to be perfectly honest with you. Ohio State needs to worry about their quarterback's situational and game awareness more than they need to worry about what Dan Lanning is doing. It's not like Lanning was going to go back to this well, guys. It's not like he was going to trot 12 players out there again in a defensive situation to run time off the clock. I like that he admitted to it because he wants people to know that he is one of the up-and-coming, sharpest, genius coaches out there, and this was a way for people to sort of take notice of what he is doing in the Big Ten.
Do you think, though, him admitting it made this happen in some way? If he would have just said, I don't know, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't, the NCAA wouldn't have changed this, Jen?
Yeah, if he doesn't admit it, they probably don't change it, but he wants people to know that he had gone over that rule book and he was aware of a loophole that a lot of other people weren't.
Martenzi.
I'm buying this. I am very much against shenanigans in both my sports and in my hairlines, and I don't like that Oregon took advantage of a loophole to get this. As far as Ohio State, no, they shouldn't feel bad about this. As Jen said, if Will Howard knew how much time was on the clock, then maybe they probably would have won the game. It had nothing to do with that.
Kevin Clark.
As Jen alluded to, the NCAA has been asleep at the wheel on basically every major issue for, 40 years. But their
Exactly.
12th guy goes on the field in the Big Ten game, and all of a sudden there's an emergency meeting about it.
yeah.
I think this was a fine sort of gray area, intentionally breaking the rules to drain the clock. I'm fine with that. I don't think Lanning should have out and out admitted or hinted that it was something that they've worked on. What I do think is that Ryan Day did a really bad job with situational awareness. This is on him. Ohio State fans should feel bad. They're very angry at Ryan Day because he keeps losing big games. This is another symptom of that. Will Howard didn't get down in time. Ryan Day didn't manage to clock well enough late in that game. So this is a problem for everybody. I don't lay this defeated Oregon at
And
all.
Kevin, I got to give you credit. You were all over this. Within seconds, I saw that you knew that this is what Lanning was up to with the 12-man penalty. Mina Kimes, to you.
But Buddy Ryan used to do it.
Yeah, the whole thing is a huge win for Oregon, part because they're going to be the last team to have gotten away with it. And I love that they did it, by the way. But also, Dan Lanning's image will be once again burnished by cleverness. The finest compliment you can get as a coach is to have a rule basically named after you and created for you. Between this and then drilling that kid with the onside kick, he's having a heck of a season for getting some attention.
One more story here, quickly, buy or sell 3. Tom Brady, minority ownership with the Raiders is finalized. What it means for his broadcasting career is kind of fascinating. Not permitted in other teams' facilities? And then the other part of this is, could his golden touch lift the Raiders around the horn? Martenzi Johnson.
I absolutely buy this. If I had the money that Tom Brady had, if I had the influence that Tom Brady had, I would spend all my days in Las Vegas rather than in Tampa or in Boston. So I commend him. And on the other hand, for the owners, don't let Tom Brady have a competitive advantage. Absolutely don't let him in your facility.
Kevin Clark.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact. I saw some quotes from Mark Davis saying that he could help maybe select and groom the next quarterback. Has anyone told Tom Telesco, who's the actual general manager of the Raiders, that Tom Brady might select the next quarterback? I just don't see how he can have much of an influence unless he's there every single day and doesn't have another job. So I'm kind of selling his influence here.
Mina Kimes.
I'm selling the idea that it's a big deal that he's skipping the meetings. I think he's going to be fine on the broadcast. But I do think his ownership will be relevant if the Raiders start playing in big games. The good news is that doesn't seem like it's going to be happening anytime soon. So I don't think anyone's going to be worried about Tom Brady's bias.
Jen Latta.
Now, see, what Mina Kimes did just there was criticize the Raiders, which is something that Tom Brady can't do for any of the teams he's covering, guys. So if a team goes 1 for 7 on 3rd down in the first half, how does he deliver that effectively without just stating the obvious? Yeah, Tom, we see the graphic. What does it mean? That's
I'm fascinated by it as well. I mean, I don't think he's going to be calling
split,
Raiders games, right?
And I don't know how he's going to navigate it.
But not going into the facility to do interviews and film? Martenzi Johnson, Milwaukee's best, born and raised. I know you're not in Showdown, but you do get to see Milwaukee in the Showdown with Jen Latta and Mina Kimes. That's it in 2 minutes. Mina Kimes, Jen Latta, good luck in Showdown.
What I would say is, did they have a good time? You know what I mean? Like, did they enjoy it? It was pretty good atmosphere. You know, I'm assuming they probably had a pretty good time tailgating. So if they're in the deal for enjoyment, then I would come back.
Jen, how should West Virginia fans hear Coach Neil Brown there saying the good times and the friends we made all along is what you should take away from a loss?
Yeah, cue up the spin doctors because that's what's happening here, guys. This is not the play. You do not tell a fan base that was expecting your team to win the Big 12 and be in the college football playoff that they should just be happy that they're having fun out there. It's a really bad look. He's a 500 coach, and they're 500 this season. I'm not sure if they should expect more.
Mina Kimes?
everybody had a good time is what Kevin and Martenzi are going to say about Around the Horn today. It's not what you say about your gigantic college football program. If anything, the problem was those preseason expectations because they haven't beaten a ranked opponent since 2021.
And they've got another one at home this weekend. Amos Zeraway is not walking through that door. Major Harris is not walking through that. Pat White not walking through that door. Jen Ladd is walking through a FaceTime right now.
If you've been paying attention to the Jerry Jones saga, it probably reminds you of Frank the Tank. I thought we were in the trust tree. I thought we were in the safe space. You are not when you are talking to reporters. You should not expect softballs to be lobbed your way. And the fact that he doubled down on the comments that he made where he threatened two radio hosts with their job is just a bad look. You've been in this business long enough, Jerry. You know you got to face the music. This was an admission of guilt by the owner of the Cowboys because his team is not good enough yet again.
23.5 hour break. We'll see you tomorrow.